I couldn't breathe. My chest was getting heavy and I was coughing.
It had been 2 weeks since pastors Zach Miller, his wife Mandy, and their kids had become ill in December of 2020. While they were on the mend, Zach continued to get worse.
I was concerned. I had, heard all of the stories. It did worry me.
Meanwhile, Mandy looked to her sister, Holly, a radiologist, for guidance. Finally,
he was struggling to breathe. His heart rate was over 200 beats per minute. I told Mandy that it was definitely time for Zach to go to the hospital.
By then, Zach was so ill, Mandy had to call for an ambulance.
We were all gathered, and I remember just telling them, you have to pray. We need a miracle. I need you to pray.
Zach was taken to Mercy Hospital in Rogers, Arkansas. Unable to stay with Zach in the hospital, Mandy waited in the parking lot. Finally, an ER doctor called. Zach was COVID positive and had critically low oxygen levels. The infection had gone septic, and he was fighting double pneumonia.
He assured me, he said, this is going to be a very short stay. Zach is young and healthy, no pre-existing conditions.
However, over those next few days, Zach went into respiratory failure. By December 30th, doctors felt there was only one option.
He was unable to oxygenate his blood. The ventilator at that point was his option for survival.
That was the last thing the Millers wanted.
I had heard people who were put on ventilators would never come off.
The nurse came in and she simply said, you know what? This is where we're going. We really need you to get on a ventilator. I could see the urgency in her eyes.
Finally, the couple agreed to have Zach intubated. At once, Mandy prayed, trying to quiet the thoughts racing through her mind.
We've got to grow old together. I can't do this life without him.
By now, there was no time to waste, and the staff scheduled the procedure immediately. Before they wheeled Zach into ICU around 2 a.m., Mandy asked to FaceTime with her husband.
I remember Mandy waving at me and saying, babe, it's going to be okay. You got this.
And he gave me a thumbs up.
It was then Mandy put another option in motion. She reached out on social media asking family, friends, and the members of their congregation to wake people up and pray.
We had a Zoom call set up. We just had people praying together. We had our staff and leadership praying, just singing and worshiping.
My prognosis was very guarded. However, I knew that hope and prayer and faith were the only things that were going to get us through this.
In the darkest point of my life, I could feel such hope and such peace through those prayers.
For the next 9 days, the prayers continued, and Zach remained critical but stable. Then on January 8th, doctors started weaning him off the ventilator, hoping his lungs were strong enough to breathe on their own. 2 days later, on Sunday, January 10th, Mandy was leading an online church service when she got a video chat call.
It was his nurse, Michael, and he said, hey, I was just calling to give you an update on Zach. And then he turns the phone around and puts it on Zach. And it took me probably a good 5 seconds or so before it dawned on me, oh my goodness, the tube is out.
The next day, Zach was moved out of the ICU to a step-down room.
I could just feel the presence of God. I looked over at the oxygen monitor. They keep a pulse ox on your finger. At the time, it was at 90. And right after I sat up, it went all the way up. And my oxygen levels were as high as they had ever been.
7 days later, Zach was discharged. And while it would take 8 more weeks of rest, he fully recovered.
The fact that he didn't have long-term complications is a testimony to the healing that God did in Zach through this process.
Today, Zach and Mandy look forward to healthy, happy lives, grounded by a faith rooted in prayer.
Prayer became my lifeline. It became everything.
Over and over in my life, I've learned one thing, that God is faithful.